This is Conscious Conversations, hosted by Information Depository. Always remember, opinions are subjective. The truth is objective. The opinions in this podcast are merely subjective tools tailored to guide the listener to the objective truth. So I'm ready when you're ready. Let me put it that way, so you know that you're the one now that
is holding things.
that's holding things.
Please, through your constitution,
See who is ready.
proceed to send the report. Now I am ready because some more. Let me get into the zone. If the heat would allow, since my homeboy has decided that I shall only speak in heats.
You don't do well with comfort.
Wow. It's my fault that I like comfortable things.
You don't do well with comfort, so I'd be proud of your comfort for that.
You're pardoned.
Mm.
So I'll let you do the moderating and I'll do the shalayin.
Nope, that wasn't the agreement. That wasn't the agreement.
Okay, what's your topic?
I didn't choose any topic because we were supposed to do a topic.
Okay, what's my topic?
See, this one they say very.
Should we say it's free form?
Which free form?
Okay, so
What's
thoughts
your
and
topic?
thought forms. Interestingly, I've been thinking about thoughts and thought forms. Okay, let me get into
Are
the.
you sure?
No, I have actually. No, not in the context of conscious. Okay, so actually, maybe click that recorded so that's our pre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had been thinking about thoughts and thought forms actually, but not in context to any of the conversations you and I have had,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
but specifically in terms of thoughts that I had these past few weeks. I've had moments where I am thinking about something. Could be work related, could be a music that I've been listening to, and then my wife starts singing it, or my wife says something to that effect, and I remember I'm like, you picked my thoughts. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people have had moments like that.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people have had moments like that.
It plays out in different forms. Sometimes it could be, because I know there was even a period my sister called me.
Right.
And she had this very, at first I was panicking. You know when someone starts with a very startled tone?
Right. Like, oh, maybe there's something wrong.
wrong?
Yeah.
And she was like, but there's this weird thing that just happened where I don't know whether she was thinking about someone.
Right.
And immediately the person just called.
Out of the blue.
Out of the blues. And
randomly.
Yeah, and she was like, almost like I should try and help her make sense out of it.
Of that situation.
And that wasn't the first time it has happened, but the speed at which
it happened
was what got her so like, it's like,
definitely caught her attention. Like, oh, there's something there.
There's something here. Like, it's not just random. And you also see it in several cases. Let's say you're in a public space and for some reason you get this feeling that someone's attention is on you.
It's on you, yes. And then you turn around and then you
once you start, the very place your face stops at is at the person who's
yes.
And the question is, what's going on?
What's
there,
going
right?
on?
You
Exactly.
understand? Because the concept of thoughts is one of those things where people imagine it's non-tangible, so it's invariably matters little.
Some people will say it doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter at all, you know?
It weighs nothing, it's pointless.
You get?
Thoughts just go on and on and on.
In a physical sense, I could get punished for, let's say, if I raise my hand to hit you.
Oh, Before you get punished,
I get punished. Maybe I might not get punished.
right?
Maybe I might not get punished, but let's say
maybe the punishment would be the best thing.
let's say in certain spaces,
But yes,
I might get punished.
Yes.
I might also get punished in certain spaces if I use certain words on you or someone else.
Yes, even in the mundane laws, you have things like defamation,
assassination of character.
And these are all crimes based on what you say or some sort of speech that you release to the public space. And it's like saying there are consequences to actions and there are consequences to words.
For physical actions, you have assault and stuff.
Yes, assault and battery. You could spend years in jail. Depending on how bad the assault is, you could even be seen as attempted murder. I mean, I have no legal training, but I think at some point there's a point that assault and battery gets to, and it's like,
there's like an overlap.
There's an overlap because if the person has to be hospitalized and the medical records say close to death, and this is like, so assault, physical activities have serious consequences.
Now the question is, if those same things that will lead to either an assault or what did you call the other one when it is verbal? Character assassination or
character assassination, defamation. Yeah.
If those same things just occurred only in my mind,
right,
but I never got to execute it, does that take away the, will I say, the density of the activity in a sense? Because it looks like it's permissible if I can think about it, but the issue is when I now execute it either verbally or physically. So is that actually correct? Is that actually in line?
I would rephrase the question, which is, we know that physical actions have consequences.
Yeah, it's documented down to legal laws.
We know that spoken words have consequences, including down to legal laws. What then are the consequences of our thoughts? If any? And right away, I would say, without a doubt, there are consequences to our thoughts. When you were articulating the different points and the different degrees, yes, it might appear that there is a difference in the density, right? And this takes us back to our earlier conversation about the laws, where we talked about the law of attraction, we talked about the law of reciprocity, but we also talked about gravity and how different things have different densities, but it doesn't mean that those things don't carry weight.
I mean, a famous example to this would be water.
Yeah.
So water can exist in 3 states.
Exactly.
Ice, liquid,
solid, liquid, and gaseous. Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So it's still the
so
same.
It's a good analogy, actually, where ice, solid, is the
physical
action.
Liquid
water is sort of like the spoken words. And vapor, gaseous, is the
thought form.
Boom. And as an engineer, sorry, I have to bring that. I have to go there. Sorry, I have to go there.
Oh my goodness.
What I know. What we use to power energy plants, our power plants, is actually steam, which is essentially gaseous water, right?
Okay.
So your typical power plant is you have some heating system, could be natural gas, could be solar, could be any other sources, and then you heat the water till you have high temperature, high pressure, and that is then what is used to power the turbines. So in many ways, that is actually visible evidence of how powerful something can be, even when it is in a state of matter that is same as light.
Or non-tangible.
Non-tangible, exactly. So thoughts, in that sense, can be seen as powerful, where the directions in which we channel our thoughts have an influence. And the more people, the more thoughts that move in a certain direction, they congregate together. Because again, I have to throw us back to the discussion we had about the laws, where you have the law of attraction. Certainly, you would have these thoughts coming together to form what, in a way, I could describe it as thought centers, right? Thought centers that
Again, if I to use the water analogy,
right?
You go to the clouds.
You go to the cloud,
and you see how clouds come together to form one big dense cloud.
One big dense
Which,
cloud.
if you also want to understand the process of how rain falls, it starts with some of these lighter clouds.
Water vapor just going all the way up,
creating small patches of
clouds here and there.
Clouds coming together.
Yeah. And initially, might I add, these clouds seem very harmless.
Yeah.
You don't see a small puff of white cloud and think, oh, a storm is coming. So it's just there, it's doing its thing. And then slowly but surely,
it merges with
others. It grows, and then boom, you see a thundercloud.
It becomes darker.
It gets darker, and then at some point,
generates enough energy.
A thunderstorm with a full rain downpour, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
But one of the questions, that would naturally come to one is, okay, so if I'm to follow this analogy,
right?
The words, the deeds, like the physical actions, they kind of have what I would say are outward physical consequences.
Yes.
So what would the consequence of the thoughts be? Because in this case, no one is going to sue me from what I'm thinking.
So far,
right? Except science comes up with a new way
to track our thoughts.
Tracking our thoughts.
For legal purposes,
It looks like I can get away with anything, I think.
Yes.
Like, where would the consequence now fall under? If you can't see it at the moment, even as we are both in the same room speaking, I really can't see your thoughts. And you can't see mine.
And I can't see yours either.
At best, what happens is you can sense.
At best,
you get to sense.
And maybe I could try to assess based on your body language or
non-verbal languages,
non-verbal communication, all of that. So that's actually a very good question. How do we?
Where does the consequence come in?
Where does the consequence come from or come into the picture? And the consequence may not always be immediate, but it is there.
Okay.
Right? Creation as is documents everything. It's like where you have, I'm going to go a bit technical, but if you have a data storage system in the clouds, it might be intangible, right? You're not seeing your PDF files, you're not seeing your softwares, you're not seeing any of these things. They are all in the cloud, but they're intangible and it's there. And someone who has access by virtue of some sort of homogeneity, can download those files, consume the content of those files, and then be influenced by the content of those files.
So you're saying, in a nutshell,
yes,
all the times that you have taken my drink without permission.
Like that. Wow, I feel other attacks. I'm exposed. Yes, guilty as charged.
Like that's been captured.
Yes, it has been captured.
I'm glad to know that somewhere has been captured.
Yes, it has been captured. That record is stored somewhere in the clouds.
On this conversation, it has also been captured. So just in case, like
you can use that as evidence in the law court as well, because while in the mechanism of creation, it's already recorded.
Yeah.
But now you have my verbal confession. So even in the mundane courts, wow, I'm in trouble. I need to get a lawyer.
You fell for that one. It was a really easy one.
I need to get a lawyer.
I fell for it.
ASAP. Yeah, I fell for that one. Yes. But back to the digital cloud analogy. So I've spoken about how all of this is recorded, but also through our homogeneity, through the thing that keeps us connected, right? We can then influence each other with our thoughts. So the example I gave is, let's say person A uploads a file that contains some content or material or literature. Just still going along with the analogy. And then somebody else, by virtue of their homogeneity and having a similar thought with person A, person B downloads that file. Person B is then connected and linked to person A through the thoughts, be they good or bad, be they beneficial or non-beneficial, right?
Just to even hit more on that.
Yeah.
Because in a way, I sort of have like a tech background.
Okay.
So you get to see this actively in things like GitHub.
Yes.
You understand? Where it's like an open community
Open
where
source.
people contribute.
People
So
contribute.
you start up a process,
Mm-hmm.
but you make it open source, and other people just see it, speak on it, build
Add
on
to
it,
it,
add to it,
build on
add to
it,
it, and then it
and
suddenly
it
becomes
becomes this
very
its
large.
own independent thing because it has been a center for all the different, be they programmers or tech experts, to contribute their own thoughts
Yeah,
on that particular project. And as they are contributing to it, they are also taking something from it.
yeah,
It could be reinforcement of certain perspectives
yeah.
or understanding of the project or the concept. It could be encouragement to move in a certain direction.
True.
It could be discouragement from a certain direction and then a course correction, right? Now, let's add a bit of a moral blend to the conversation. If the GitHub project is one that is of poor moral character,
Mm-hmm.
all of the participants on such a project have contributed to this center of immoral thoughts and motivated a certain action. In the same way, for a typical software project and such, that particular GitHub project would influence a software programmer somewhere out there to do something with his own work or with his own activity, or even create a new project. This new idea of the thought center is influencing certain individuals to carry out certain actions based on the influence of this hypothetical GitHub project. And the same goes for the morally okay. I don't know.
Well,
I hope I
probably it's
haven't lost
getting
you.
lost.
Oh dear.
Maybe I opened a can of worms with GitHub.
I think you did. I think you did. Yeah.
But maybe not that I was particularly lost as per I don't understand what you're saying, but
Okay.
this might sound a bit ironical, but while you're speaking, a thought and
A thought came to you. Where did that thought come from? That is also something I intend to talk about,
now
but
this
please
is the
do it.
irony of the thought.
Yes.
The thought was when people sit and say, I have a thought, I just received a thought or an idea.
Yes.
What's the process to that? Because one would imagine it's like you just created something out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is how some people understand it as well. Like
Yes.
there was just this
Burst of ideas.
you understand?
Yes.
And you have seen it, I guess, even with regards to a lot of inventions, it all started with that inspirational thought
Yes.
that comes to one either in a certain state of relaxation or whatever the state is.
Right.
But
Meditation for different persons.
yes. So the question in particular is, are those thoughts created or is there a different process to it?
I see. I hadn't even thought about that question because I think I may have gotten lost in the GitHub. Right?
And something else prompted the question.
Okay.
I think this is a physics analogy where it says energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but transferred from one form
to the other.
to another.
Could that be the case
Could
for
that
thoughts
also
as
apply
well?
to thoughts?
Ooh, thermodynamics of thoughts. Okay. I would leave the physics.
I mean, we've made this a bit too scientific.
But that's fine. That's fine. Would add hyperlinks if necessary. Okay, I'll leave the physics question.
Okay.
And address the first question, which is where the thoughts come from.
Yeah.
When you say a thought came to me, which you demonstrated, right? A thought came to me or this idea came to me. And how does that happen? What is the mechanism? What's the start to finish? Think of it this way. We have the internet. And we can access all sorts of material from the internet. We can also be connected to other persons from the internet, right? It is easy for you as a photographer to come in contact or come in touch with another photographer through Pinterest or through many of these art-oriented social media content, right? And upon seeing their works, it could influence your own ideas, inspirational perspectives, right? That is a very rudimentary analogy. But let me not delve into the actual question itself. It all comes down to the law of attraction of homogeneous species. There is something about who we are that keeps us magnetically connected or disconnected. We are constantly attracting or repelling, right? We are constantly attracting or repelling. And this manifests in all sorts of ways, but most importantly, in our thoughts. With this attraction, let's say you have an artist who is interested in painting birds. Because they are already leaning in that direction, it characterizes the mode of attracting that they are doing. And that way, when there is something that someone else is maybe even thinking, or still borrowing the GitHub analogy, you have a sub thread in GitHub that is all about
Actually, everybody
birds.
understand what the subthread is.
Maybe I don't actually.
So maybe we can also break down what a subthread,
subthread is. Okay. So GitHub is like an open source platform for people to collaborate on projects as well as share ideas on how they have resolved different problems or challenges that are usually software
Mostly
related.
programming related.
Usually programming related, but not exclusively,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And then you would have like specific threads for specific topics, how to program XYZ within ABC language in Java, whatever it may be, suite. So let's say, back to using that as the analogy, you have a thread for painting birds, and this exists. Now, because this artist already has,
Sounds like Twitter.
in many ways it is, in many ways it is, and
X as it is in today's reality.
right, right. So you have this artist who, it is something that they are interested in, right? Depending on the strength of their Wi-Fi, their connection, their connectivity, the nature of their interests, and how their experiences frame their understanding of their perceptions, of their thoughts, of their ideas, they'll be able to pull from this ethereal GitHub subthread on birds, and then the ideas will then flow on how to paint birds, right? This is not the only way an idea could come to someone or a thought could approach someone, but that is an example of such. Have I lost you, or do I?
No, you have not. So let me just. So this is not a video, so most people might not fully understand the context. Anytime you see me in this manner,
Right.
it probably doesn't translate to the fact that you've lost me,
Okay.
but that maybe another thought has entered into my head.
Another thought. The thoughts keep coming. Please bring them on.
Yeah. So and the thought has just slipped away, which might be another good question.
That's
Like,
where did these thoughts slip away? Why are they so slippery? They come and they go.
how the thoughts come,
Right.
thoughts come and slip away? Like, why?
Yeah. Do I answer that, or do I wait for you?
You can.
Yes. So why do the thoughts come and go? The thoughts come and go because the thoughts did not find anchorage.
I mean, this is your perspective anyway.
My perspective anyway, my understanding of things, and I'm more than happy to share the basis of my understanding. So for the thoughts to remain and take hold, for it to be easily remembered and recognized, it has to find anchorage. It's like planting it and anchoring it down into the psyche. I feel like I'm,
Is there any particular approach that could help the anchorage and crystallization process?
Oh, absolutely. It's simply taking a few minutes or seconds. It's different for people, right? To see the thoughts. And when I say see the thoughts, I don't mean physically see the thoughts. There shall be no schizophrenia here, right? So to see and recognize the thoughts, recognize what the thought is trying to communicate to you. If it is an idea, a concept, an intrusive thought, even, because that's also
when
something
we started, this was the first
we'll talk about.
like
Exactly.
Intrusive thoughts.
An intrusive thought and a benevolent thought, a warm thought of, oh, I'm thinking about my grandmother, and it's so nice that she sent me, a birthday cake 2 weeks ago. That's a thought that came to you, but in that moment, you acknowledged the thought and accepted the thought. So, in many ways, we actually do decide actively the thoughts we attract, the thoughts we then hold within ourselves, or the thoughts we let go.
Okay, now there's a downpour of thoughts just flooding in.
Flooding in, all right.
So for starters,
remember, you do have some control over the downpour.
yeah. It depends on how heavy it is.
How heavy? True, true. Maybe
So,
we need thought umbrellas.
So for starters, from the perspective of, let's say, an inspiration or an idea, a business idea or something,
Okay. Yeah.
it could also come in a manner of thoughts.
Yes.
And part of what I was thinking about that could help the crystallization process is, for instance, silence.
Silence.
Yes, because so many people are very quick, like the speed between what happens in their head and what comes out of their mouth almost feels like several milliseconds.
Lightning speed. And I'm happy you're bringing that up because I'm guilty of that. I have said in that we do have some control over the thoughts, but it also helps to take that moment to crystallize it. And you're right, silence is actually something that can help with that. If you remember, I was saying taking a few minutes or seconds, or sometimes even more than a few minutes, to actually sit in silence, recognize, reflect, and digest it so that you are not acting immediately. First of all, even ask yourself if this is the right thought for this particular moment.
Yeah. I think you just made reference to something that I don't know how common it is in our daily lives, like the process of introspection and reflection. It feels like it's easy for us to see AI and condemn it because of the mechanical approach it has towards. But in several ways, if you observe our day-to-day lives, it also feels like that mechanical. It's like every day on the grind, you wake up, there's this.
You go to work, you do this, you do this, you do that. Yes.
And then
you don't really take out the time to introspect, to reflect on your thoughts, to reflect on things in general.
And in so doing, the true meaning of life and what it means to be human gets to fade away slowly. Until, let's say, one drastic thing finally happens, like let's say the passing away of a loved one. And suddenly
it compels you
to now
to actually take a moment, take a break, and
perceive those deep feelings that normally were meant to connect you to your core, if that makes sense.
It does.
And it's a habit that becomes harder and harder with our fast-paced environment,
lifestyle,
because so many things are happening at a very quick pace. In short, in today's reality, you even see people telling you about how they struggle with attention span and stuff like that. So it's becoming difficult to stay grounded, to stay present, to understand the thoughts going on. Because I would imagine that there are some days where there are thousands of thoughts just circulating in my head, but I'm not really present
to even interact with the thoughts
meaningfully. Like, I'm just unconsciously letting go, accepting. And because the first basis of our conversation had to do with consequences. And now the question in my head is, okay, so in that process of unconsciously accepting, indulging, are there consequences to that as well?
Right.
One might think the consequences could only be attached to the conscious process of thinking. But what of the unconscious process of thinking, where you just, let's say fantasy enters into your head,
and you run
along with it and indulge that fantasy for a couple of minutes. If for whatever reason it's something that is perceived as negative, net negative to both you and your environment, does it also have a consequence? We made reference to the cloud energy and how clouds come together to create a downpour. If I think of certain things, but I'm not in a position to execute it,
are you also found liable to contributing to that act?
I'm going to paint what would be a more practical approach here. One of the thoughts that first of all came to me was the process of liberation. Let's say, for instance, the Nelson Mandela story, the Martin Luther King story. And the question is, was that act or was that activity powered through by just Martin Luther King and the inspirational thoughts he has, or was there any other source he had access to in that period?
Yeah.
Was he essentially a medium
to convey the collective thoughts of a lot of
the
people who
at that
were
time
seeking liberation.
And we can go as far back as, let's say, even the time of the Israelites with Moses.
Yes, with Moses.
Was Moses the singular entity driving that process? Or was he also a medium who was collecting or receiving
the collective will, the
collective
collective volition, the collective thought
process of the people whose desire was
seeking
freedom.
liberation and freedom.
Yeah, liberation and freedom. That was their primary thing. In several instances for independence, it was still the same thing. And then someone amongst their rank rises to the occasion to lead the whole process. So now this pattern, it's what I would say a more constructive form of it.
Yes, it is.
But if that applies, then how can it also apply in a more destructive form?
I like that analogy.
Yes.
Because we've just established that the fight for liberation, seeking freedom, these are noble and lofty goals and ideas.
Yes. Which we would love to embrace.
Which we would love to embrace
and see more of.
And the likes of Moses, the likes of Mandela, the likes of MLK, they tapped into something. They tapped into the collective thought and the collective will of the people who were seeking liberation.
Yeah.
And they helped facilitate achieving that freedom. What then happens with somebody who is tapped into the collective will of murder and annihilating people and crimes, racism, and that sort of vicious, malicious sentiment and thought and hate?
Yeah.
Because earlier we talked about the legal consequence of actions like assault and battery, then legal consequences of words like defamation, right? But there's also hate speech. And it ties back to what we just talked about, which is for the case of Moses and MLK, they had the collective thought of people, which was freedom and liberation. What happens when somebody is tapped into the collective thoughts on hatred?
Exactly.
And as the people,
and is the person in question the only person responsible in that particular?
Absolutely not. It can't be,
because it's very easy to point to them
one
and
person and say,
demonize
this
them,
is the
and
person
this
that
is the
brought
person, this
about
is the
this.
problem of the entire world. If we can
just eliminate this one person, it fixes the problem
fixes the whole
completely.
problem. Well, it's not really the root source of
It's not the root source of the problem, because Moses could not have done it without the support that he got. And he did get a lot of support at the time to move the needle for the liberation of the oppressed people. Now, the question back to the person influenced by all the hate thoughts, it's not just on that one person. The other individuals who contributed to the thought centers that motivated that person to act in hate receive from it. So as they gave into the thought centers, they will receive the consequences of the actions.
You know what came to mind?
Right?
A lot of thoughts.
A lot of thoughts. So it's a day of thoughts.
So people in the marketing space might be able to relate to this. The referral system, where let's say if there's a business and I introduce you to that business.
Yes.
And let's say you deposit money there, the platform gives me a referral bonus based on what you have put. And if you also bring in someone, you receive a referral bonus. And invariably, I too also receive another referral bonus that trickles down.
Yeah.
So it's
a trickle-down marketing program. I see.
So it's like I might be at the top of the food chain.
Right.
But the pyramid is formed by both I and all
the other referrals, secondary referrals, and subsequent referrals, on and on and on and
so
on.
Whatever benefits that comes to maybe my downlines,
yes,
I get to receive in return
a portion
of it.
Yes.
A portion of it.
Yes.
If it's large, it also means
you get a large portion of it.
Of it invariably.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of that with regards to this as well.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so it means in the case of a noble action, if, let's say, even though for whatever reason you're not in the forefront of the activity,
you are not the Moses or the MLK of the moment,
or you're not carrying the placards or whatever, but you're still genuinely moved enough to send that genuine thoughts. If there's a blessing that comes as a consequence of that activity, it means you too would also be a recipient
of the blessings or the benefits.
Yeah. If for whatever reason, because now this was quite a controversial thought that came.
Right.
Let's say you have today's reality where there are so many casual things that we take for granted. Let's say, for instance, the video game.
Yes.
And in the video games, one of them involves shooting of guns.
Yes. Call of Duty is one that comes to mind.
Okay. I didn't want to name drop it.
Okay. Maybe we can take that out. Yeah. But so back to what we were saying, you were speaking about games, computer games, that involve a lot of gun violence.
Yes, physical violence
to be any other.
And you could see where this could, when you're not playing some of those games,
yes,
it affects your psyche in such a way that you can possibly start imagining those scenarios in your head. Up until the point where it feels like you will love the opportunity to exercise that
sort of action.
And
even if you do not end up doing it, but just because you have fueled that thought, you have put it out there into creation, it can then sadly influence someone else to take on that line of action.
And there are so many forms that come to mind. Like, for instance, even down to flirtatious thoughts, where you see someone and obviously they can't read your head, but you have objectified them in several ways.
In many ways,
and possibly feel that you haven't particularly done anything wrong, but because
you haven't done
actually
or said anything. So there is no verbal abuse, there's no physical assault or sexual assault.
And so
even in the thoughts, lust and flirtatiousness has
taken precedence.
Yes.
And you see a news article where someone is caught or arrested for, let's say, a rape incident.
Yeah.
And it feels so easy to point fingers and judge that person and condemn the person. And the question is, in the real sense of, let's say, justice.
Yes.
Because we have had a conversation.
True justice.
True justice.
And not just the legal, mundane laws.
Possible
that person
are also
is
connected
not,
to that person's action by virtue of fueling those desires with the... So it's like the cloud system. Could it be that they drew
from something you had uploaded? From something you had uploaded, exactly. And also, a thought came to my mind. Could it be that person drew from thoughts, not just thoughts about loss and flirtatiousness and all that, but thoughts about dominance or domination that they may have picked up upon. But then, while one person's image or concept of domination is different, this individual picked up on those thoughts but manifested it in a different domain. That's a thought that just came to mind, that it's another way in which thoughts can influence the actions of another.
You see, even in team building.
Right.
Because most people would probably assume that the only quality that you need for a good team is just people with physical competence. So you're looking at the academic qualifications,
the skill set, and that's about it.
But I would argue that if you can't also have that harmonious mind within the group, irrespective of the individual competence levels, you'll still be running into challenges with achieving your collective goal. And a good reference for this is sports.
Beautifully
football is one of the references.
And
you have a team with yes, I'm a huge football guy. And you have a team with all stars.
All stars, the best of the best.
For each position, these players can stand out as the top 3 in their position. But when it comes to the collective goal of, let's say, winning a cup competition, winning a league title, they fall short.
Because they do not think
Because
like
they are not
team.
harmonized in their thinking.
Yes.
It might not make sense from the outward sense, because it's like, from what you're seeing, all these people are training, they're fast, they're technically gifted and all that. What's actually stopping them from? And one of the most beautiful teams I remember was the Barca team that had Xavi, Iniesta.
That's Barcelona FC.
Yeah, Barcelona FC. Xavi, Iniesta, Messi.
Ooh, name dropping. Hit me with it.
Like, these guys felt like they could play football blindfolded.
Right.
It felt like beyond their physical ability, there was this sync.
Yes.
Between them.
They were thinking as one.
Like, they created this dome effect around them where everyone was tapped into that collective mind.
Yes.
And that's also another interesting concept. The idea of, so we have the individual mind.
Yes.
And what one could call the collective mind.
In many ways. That often happens.
Yes. And in today's reality, it feels like a struggle to have a strong, noble collective mind.
A strong, noble collective mind. You're right.
I don't know if any other person has observed.
I have observed it.
It feels like a huge struggle. It's very easy for us to pinpoint certain externals as the problem of our world.
Yes.
But for instance, the issue of distrust is so deeply rooted in today's society. Like, even if you want to go down to the digital space, you're watching a video and you're like, is this even real?
Right.
Because casual as that.
Just don't want to trust it immediately that it's real. Yes.
In today's reality, you can't just stop
Accept
a random
things at face value.
Even down to, let's say you're on the road and someone stops and they want to offer you a ride or something.
Oh, that's suspicious.
And you're like,
you'll be skeptical. Yeah.
You know? So distrust has suddenly taken a very huge root. And the question is, where did it stem from?
Right.
Like, was it always like that? Because you hear older generations tell you a different story, that it wasn't this bad.
They do. We hear stories of how nobody stole. You could go to a store, the storekeeper wouldn't be there. They would leave their money counter open and tell you, put in your amount and take your change. And that was seen as the norm. It was seen as the standard. So there was trust. And maybe they had a better sense of this strong, noble, collective mind
you know,
speak of, right?
Which you see in some cultures. You go to some cultures and there are certain values that it feels like everyone within that cultural geographical space adhere
to, appreciate.
I mean, it might not be every single person.
Yes, but at least a good
amount
portion of the population.
For some, it could be the quality of simplicity.
Right. For some, it could be honesty.
For some, it could be respect.
Yes.
But at least those set of people have that collective understanding towards it, and they feel proud of associating themselves as these people. This is one of the values we hold true.
I see.
And it helps them too. You see how it helps them in their collective.
By holding those virtues,
as
something that is a foundation, a tenet, an anchor for them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a very interesting.
It is. Topic. It is. And the more I think about the collective mind, which in a way is somewhat synonymous to the thought centers, right? Which essentially is that for the noble ones, we can have thought centers that are founded on the virtues. So, for example, you spoke about respect, honesty, simplicity. Some of these virtues, they might not be as common because there's so much negative intrusive thoughts. I'm just remembering that we haven't got into the intrusive thoughts yet, right? But a part of me, the optimistic aspect of me, believes that not only do these strong, noble, collective minds or thought centers exist, they are so many, and they are grounded on these virtues, so much so that the moment we strive to adhere to any of these virtues, we establish a kind of connection. It's like having access to a certain data cloud, right? We establish a kind of connection that we can then draw from. In many ways, it's almost like finding or discovering one of these communities that has a virtue as a stronghold for them that they adhere to, and saying, you know what, I would like to stay with these people for some time and grow in this virtue. I feel like these thought centers can have such a positive effect on an individual.
For me, I feel the difference is that the thought centers are not particularly restricted to geographical location.
Exactly.
So,
which in many ways
yeah,
can be and should be advantageous.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's another question that comes to mind.
Yeah.
We have identified how the effects of noble thinking could have on our collective space.
Yeah.
A part of me is now like, okay, why don't I just make it a routine of sitting down and writing down a list of things I want to just be thinking about, Google things, maybe make it more like a mechanical process. And okay, today let me make sure that I think for 1 hour straight. I think of only good things.
Only good things, simplicity, purity, and honesty.
Or maybe people that need food, let them have food. And I've not gotten to this particular subject matter, but it feels a bit like just, you know how you memorize a prayer?
Right.
And you just rattle it.
Rattle it out,
Or you memorize a song and you just rattle it. So it's like you already know the lyrics, so you just rattle it.
So you just say it out.
Yes. And so the question is, if I were to adopt that approach, so I have 24 hours a day and I want to, let's say for lack of a better word, I had said earlier that the blessing might also be similar to the referral bonus system.
Yes.
And I want to be tied into the referral bonus system.
Yes, you want to get as many bonuses as you could get.
So now I'm forcing myself to just be thinking in a good manner.
Yeah.
Does that really help me?
So in this example, you're already starting off from a place of lack of sincerity and lack of honesty.
Okay.
Right? Because
why will you say I'm not honest?
You just said it that you are choosing or trying to get the bonuses just for the sake of it and not from a place of genuinely wanting to engage in noble thoughts based on the example you gave, right?
I'm not against the people who are the receiving end of the noble thoughts actually getting it. Yes, it's not my primary.
It's not your primary, yes.
Intent.
And at the end of the day, what will determine how sustainable the exercise is what the primary intent. And when one starts from a place of purity of thought, it becomes the foundation for other virtues to then grow and blossom. And the reason why I say that is with purity of thought, it does not allow room for the ego, for example, to predominate and say, oh, let me get all the bonuses, or let me do this, or let me do that. On its own, those bonuses, again, the analogy, are good things, but the foundation needs to be laid. And that foundation is purity of thought, because the purity of thought, you can then start there and approach things from a place of simplicity, which is also a virtue, honesty, and transparency.
Okay. So, in a nutshell,
yes,
the way I perceive what you're expressing is if it's not backed by what I would term a genuine volition.
Right.
And it's backed by a more calculative intent. So a genuine volition could be, I see someone who is going through, let's say, a difficult time.
Yes.
And it is at that moment I see them that it inwardly inspires something within me or triggered something within me. And just to also put it that that something might not necessarily translate to immediately I go and meet them and be like, hey, what's it that is happening with you?
How can I help?
How can I help? Take
Yeah.
this and all that, or make them more like a charitable case.
Right.
But it could lead to a genuine prayer. Let's say I'm in a vehicle, a moving vehicle.
Yes, and you don't even physically get a chance to
stop
by
and all that.
and
But I see it and it doesn't leave my head. And there's this part of me that has genuine concern for the other person, up to the point where I send a genuine prayer that it would really be nice if this person's circumstances change
and improve for
the better. And let's say 2 months later, someone else now becomes a medium to now improve that person's situation.
Yes.
So it feels like in that case, my thoughts have also helped to drive that action.
It did, because it contributed to the thing that inspired the helper, or the person who comes to the aid of the distressed individual.
And in layman terms, it was heartfelt.
It was heartfelt, yes. Heartfelt thoughts.
Genuine, heartfelt.
Yes, and not calculated.
Yes. So I guess that's what a lot of people complain about AI.
Yes, which is it's very calculated, very lifeless.
Exactly. Lifeless.
It doesn't have that warmth and inner
would be the word.
elements that come with.
Because AI can even mimic a lot of human activities like speaking. And
speaking. It even tries to mimic emotions.
But it still has that argument that it still doesn't replace the warmth.
It doesn't.
With
Many would say that it is not even capable of conveying the warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess in this case, that segment is also very important in the quality of the thoughts.
The quality of the thoughts.
Irrespective of how it appears on the outward sense, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it also applies with words as well.
It applies with words
because
okay, go on.
I can write out a sentence.
Right.
And you could repeat that sentence in 2 different manners or tones. And the way it is perceived is the same word that you pronounce.
Same words, the same sentence.
There was no error in your form of pronunciation.
But how it is conveyed.
And how it is felt inwardly by the other person could be different.
Yeah.
So it means this heartfelt component also plays a huge role in that energy. Yeah. That energy transfer, if one can put it in a more scientific form.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And for me, when I began to appreciate the importance and the value of starting from a place of purity of thoughts, was when I came across the explanations on the importance of keeping the hearth of one's thoughts pure. And these explanations came.
What's the hearth?
What's the hearth? Oh, the hearth. So the hearth is the fireplace in most homes, and particularly in places that have clement weather where it does get cold, maybe during the winter or even during the warmer seasons, but at night it gets really cold and you need warmth. No matter how thick your clothes are, you need warmth. So the hearth is that place that brings light into the home, brings warmth into the home, sustains the people, because oftentimes it's also used as the place where food is prepared. So the hearth is this thing that keeps you alive, keeps you active, keeps you thriving.
Like a central point.
It's a central point. Yes. In many ways, it's and not just central in a physical, geographical sense, but the central meaning the core.
Yeah. The binding point.
The binding point
helps bring all those activities
together and keep it alive and thriving. Because without the warmth of the hearth, without the light of the hearth, you do not get illumination in the home. You do not get food in the home. You do not get warmth in the home. You do not get sustenance. So it is this core thing.
It was a valid question from 2 perspectives. Okay. One could hear it and think it's a beating heart.
It's a beating heart, yes, which is completely different. Which in many ways, there is some similarity in terms of it being a symbolic core, but still different meanings, because the hearth is that fireplace in the home that keeps the place
So depending on which climatic environment you're coming from,
right,
you probably don't need
a hearth.
a hearth.
Yes, but I will say that
You probably need an AC.
for example, you probably need an air conditioner unit to keep you cool because it is so hot in the tropics. I agree. And I will say that in many West African cultures, traditionally, and West Africa is very much in the tropics, it doesn't get hotter and more humid than you get in West Africa. You'd have homes, you would have a homestead. And in the homestead, it may not always be physically at the center, but you would always have something like a hearth where this is a place where the fire is always lit.
Yeah, I think aside the homestead, the one that comes to mind more easily is the West African environment is one of those, for lack of a better word, communal environments.
Yes.
So you have this thing where in the nights people gather and they gather around
a
that
fire that brings them together.
Probably
They
tell
share
tales,
stories.
share
There's
food.
intergenerational exchange of ideas and concepts and perspectives.
Which reminds me
So it's a place of warmth, and not just warmth in the physical warmth, which comes with it, but it's a place of communal warmth. It's for the family, for the people.
Or the individual.
Yes.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I think there's a reference from Achebe.
Okay.
I can't remember it.
Yes.
I was trying to say it, and if I get it wrong, just correct me. The concept of it refers to how when you invite your kingsmen to come and dine with you. In the open
share the
space
warmth of a hearth.
Yes.
I'm throwing those are not his words, but I'm throwing that in there.
It doesn't particularly mean that they cannot see the moon from their own individual compounds. But it's something about trying to create that warmth, that communal warmth. I used to know this phrase very well, but I don't know why now I'm overthinking.
We can always Google it another time.
I can't remember the exact reference to it. But I know it's credited to Achebe, and it's something about that upbuilding and harmonious activity that is projected from that heart. And when people come together with that genuine, noble reason to experience, they could either be sharing experience based on their life experiences or based on, let's say, even planning for future activities.
For the future, either for individual families or for the community at
large.
And I see what you
I'm definitely going to try to look for this while you're speaking.
Sure. Because the moment the communal experiencing of the hearth is ennobled, is centered on virtues, then that experiencing, that coming together of the people, especially in this West African context, right, it becomes a means for them to ennoble themselves. It becomes a source of strength. It strengthens the ennoblement of the collective mind, as we had spoken of earlier. And it can be a strong source or a source of strength for the individual and the collective.
Yeah.
So definitely.
So a man who calls his kingsmen to a feast does not do so to save them from starving.
Right.
They all have food in their homes. When we gather in the moonlight village ground, it is not because of the moon. Every man can see it in his own compound.
Right.
We come together because it is good for kingsmen to do so. Yeah, and it's quoted from Things Fall Apart.
Things Fall Apart. Yeah. Beautiful reference. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that reference because it puts things quite succinctly in the West African perspective of the hearth. And then the ennoblement and the purity of the hearth makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense because the moment there is that collective endeavor to ennoble the hearth, to ennoble the experiencing of the collective of coming together in the moonlight, to share stories, to ennoble each other through our own activities, it benefits the individual as well as the collective.
It's speaks to true human experience and
It does.
Where we shift from those mundane activities into activities that really feed our soul and our spirit. Not to take anything away from our day-to-day hustle,
right,
but in so many ways, what takes precedence in those activities, especially in today's reality, is our intellect, our mind. It's at the forefront. So it's always calculating, finding.
There's just so much noise, and every now and then it's good to
you're trying
take
to
that step
back and let the spirit
and let the spirit take
unfold.
precedence, unfold,
Yeah,
and absorb all of that noble light.
yeah.
This has been an exciting one, actually. I really enjoyed today's conversation, I would have to say. I have.
I always remind you that I have it on record that you took my drinks. Just
a personal confession.
Yeah, there's a personal
on record.
confession to that. To judge my unintentionally,
I have to listen to. I have to get a lawyer.
To judge my unintentionally, I have to listen to the entire podcast to get to the root of the matter. But
and our listeners will have to listen as well to know
we'll kill
at what point I should bribe.
Yeah, was a good one. Just to ask, there was some point in the conversation where you had made an inference.
Or reference.
That there might be some sources regarding some of the perspectives which you share.
A lot of the perspectives I shared during this conversation are drawn from a book that I have read and has really been a source of spiritual enlightenment.
Okay.
It's a collection of lectures titled In the Light of Truth, The Grail Message by Avicii. And to further emphasize the value, I would like to share a few excerpts from the text
in relation
to the conversations that we've had today.
That's fine. Yeah. What could happen is I really need a drink at the moment.
Okay, sure. So hopefully you find your drink.
hopefully something about your confession will let you leave my drink alone. And when we come back,
I can neither deny nor confirm anything at the moment.
At this stage, you really need a lawyer.
I do, actually.
But when we come back
from the break,
you will take the opportunity to also share the excerpt.
I'll be happy to do so.
Okay, sure. No problem. All right.
The following is an excerpt from the lecture titled Awake, Volume 1, Lecture 5, in the book In the Light of Truth, The Grail Message by Avicii. And I read, an eternal law operates in the universe, that only in giving can one receive where lasting values are concerned. Like a sacred legacy of its creator, this law deeply permeates the whole of creation. To give unselfishly, to help where help is needed, and to understand both the suffering and the weaknesses of your fellow men means to receive, because it is the simple and true way to the highest. And to will this seriously brings you immediate help and strength by one single, honest, and ardent wish to do good. The will which your thoughts have hitherto erected as a barrier is cleaved as with a flaming sword from the other side that is now still invisible to you. For you are indeed one with the beyond, which you so fear, deny, or long for. You are closely and inextricably linked with it. Try it, for your thoughts are the messengers you send forth, which return heavily laden with similar thought forms, good or evil, as the case may be. This actually happens. Remember that your thoughts are realities that shape themselves spiritually, often becoming forms outliving the earth life of your body. Then much will become clear to you. Thus it is quite rightly said, for their works will pursue them. Thought creations are works which will one day await you, which form light or dark rings around you, which you must traverse in order to enter the spiritual world. Neither protection nor intervention can help in this, because the decision lies with you. Therefore, you yourself must take the first step in everything. This is not difficult. It lies solely in the volition, which expresses itself through thoughts. Thus, you carry heaven or hell within you. You are free to decide, but you are then irrevocably subject to the consequences of your thoughts, of your volition. You yourselves create these consequences, and that is why I exhort you. Keep the hearth of your thoughts pure. By so doing, you will bring peace and be happy. Do not forget that every thought you produce and send out attracts all similar thoughts on its way, or attaches itself to others, thus continually increasing in strength and finally also reaching a goal, a human brain which is perhaps off its guard just for a moment, thereby offering such floating thought forms the opportunity to penetrate and operate. Just consider what responsibility will fall upon you if at some time or other the thought becomes a deed through some person whom it was able to influence. This responsibility already arises through the fact that every single thought keeps a constant link with you, just as if by an unbreakable thread, so as to return with the strength gained on its way, either to burden you or to bring you joy, according to the kind you produced. Thus, you stand in the world of thoughts, and according to your way of thinking at the time, make room for similar thought forms. Do not therefore waste the power of thinking, but gather it for defense and for keen thinking, which goes forth like spears and affects everything. Thus, create out of your thoughts the holy spear, which fights for the good, heals wounds, and furthers the whole of creation. Adjust your thinking, therefore, towards activity and progress. To do this, you must shake many a pillar supporting traditional ideas. Often it is some concept wrongly understood that hinders man from finding the right way. He must return to the starting point. One flash of light will destroy the whole structure so painfully erected over decades, and following a shorter or longer period of stunned inertia, he will make a fresh start. He must do so, for there is no standing still in the universe. This excerpt reading is from the work In the Light of Truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. The title of the lecture is The First Step. Men are in the habit of saying that thoughts are free. By this, they wish to imply that they cannot be held accountable on earth for their thoughts, because these are on a level which is inaccessible to human hands. Therefore, they often play with thoughts in the most careless way, or better expressed, they play in thoughts. Unfortunately, often a very dangerous game, in the light-hearted illusion that they can emerge from it unharmed. But here they err, for thoughts too belong to the world of gross matter, and must in all circumstances also be redeemed in it before a spirit becomes capable of swinging itself freely upwards once it has severed the connection with its earthly body. Therefore, seek at all times to swing even with your thoughts in the sense of my message, in such a way that you desire only what is noble, and do not lower yourselves because you imagine that nobody can see or hear it. Thoughts, words, and the visible deed all belong to the realm of gross matter in this creation. Thoughts operate in the world of fine gross matter, words in the world of medium gross matter, and visible actions take form in the world of coarsest, that is, densest gross matter. These three kinds of your activity are gross material, but the forms of all three are closely connected with each other. Their effects are interwoven. What that implies for you, how incisive and decisive its effect often is in the course of your existence, you cannot estimate all at once. It means nothing else than that also a thought automatically working on according to its nature can strengthen a homogeneous type in the world of medium matter, thereby producing more powerful forms. Likewise, then, deducing from this, it again continues to work on within this intensification and arises in a visible active form in the coarsest world of matter, without you yourselves seeming to be directly concerned with it. It comes as a shock to know this when one realizes how superficial and careless these earthmen are in their thinking. Thus, without knowing it, you participate in many a deed perpetrated by one or other of your fellow men, simply because he has received the intensification in the way I have just explained. It became capable of driving him to the crudest perpetration of something that had hitherto slumbered within him, with which previously he had always merely toyed in his thoughts. Thus, many a person on earth very often looks with disapproval upon some action of one of his fellow men, angrily repudiating and condemning it, and yet he is partially responsible for it before the eternal laws of God. In this, someone who is a complete stranger to him may be involved, and it may concern a deed which he himself would never have committed in the realm of coarsest matter. This excerpt reading is taken from the lecture titled Silence. When a thought suddenly strikes you, keep it back. Do not utter it at once, but nourish it, for it will condense through being retained in silence and gain strength like steam under counter pressure. Pressure and condensation produce the quality of a magnetic activity in accordance with the law that all that is stronger attracts what is weak. Similar thought forms are thus attracted from all sides and retained, constantly reinforcing the power of your original thoughts, yet working in such a way that through the joining of other forms, the originally produced form is refined, changes, and takes on different shapes until it comes to maturity. Indeed, you sense all this inwardly, but you always think it is entirely your own volition. But you never give purely your own volition in any matter. There are always other influences as well. What does this process tell you? That only in the union of many elements can anything perfect be created. Created? Is that right? No, but formed. For there is really nothing new to be created. In everything, it is merely a matter of producing new forms, since all the elements already exist in the vast creation. But these elements are to be pressed into service for the way to perfection, which is brought about through union. Union. Do not pass over this lightly, but try to become absorbed in the concept that maturity and perfection are achieved through union. The principle rests in all creation as a treasure that needs to be unearthed. It is closely related to the law that only in giving can there also be receiving. And what is required to grasp these principles aright, thus to experience them? Love. And therefore, love indeed stands as the highest power as unlimited might in the mysteries of the great life. We shall now hear words from the Grail message. The title of the lecture is Thought Forms. If these thought forms are of a pure and noble nature, they will beautify the person for whom they are meant, strengthen the shield of purity around him, and if they meet with inner intuitive perceptions of a similar nature, they can uplift him further and strengthen him for his ascent. Impure thoughts, however, cannot fail to soil the person for whom they are meant in just the same way as a physical body is soiled if mud and dirt is thrown at it. If a man so attacked is not inwardly anchored firmly to the centers of light streams, it may very well happen that in time his intuitive perception may become confused under this barrage of impure thoughts. This is possible because these impure thoughts, clinging to him, are able to attract others of a like nature, which strengthen them, so that by degrees they poison the thoughts of the person so encompassed. The greater part of the responsibility naturally falls back upon the man who generated the impure thoughts and whose wish or desire sent them out to the person concerned. For the thought forms also remain attached to their author and react upon him accordingly. It is therefore necessary repeatedly to call out to all true seekers, give heed to the purity of your thoughts. Put all your energy into this effort. You have no idea what you are thus doing. Something stupendous lies in it. You can work with this like mighty warriors and pioneers for the light, and thus liberate your fellow men from the poisonous creepers that infest the world of thought forms.
This series was brought to you by Information Depository. For further inquiries, please send us an email to theinformationdepository@gmail.com. For more insightful content, follow us on our social media platforms, which you could find in the description below. To explore the original work and the excerpts featured in this episode, visit www.growmessage.com or send us an email. Thank you for listening.